I'm going to be talking about my predictions for the coaching industry in 2024 and beyond. Ooh, right? If you're looking to be a successful coach in 2024 and beyond, you're in luck because I'm going to get into it right now. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my podcast. If you are listening to this on either iTunes or Spotify, you can come on over to my YouTube channel to watch the video version of this if you want to see my crazy facial expressions, especially because this one I'm actually really passionate about and I'm really excited to see what you think. And that's because I'm going to be talking about my predictions for the coaching industry in 2024 and beyond. Ooh, right? I see a lot of people already kind of throwing their opinions out there, talking about, is AI gonna, destroy the coaching industry? What should we be thinking about? Is coaching dead? Is it too crowded? Is coaching the next new wave that everybody needs to get on? If you're wondering what I think about this, and particularly what I think you should be paying attention to and how you should be moving if you're looking to be a successful coach in 2024 and beyond, you're in luck because I'm going to get into it right now. All right, so the first trend that I think we're going to see in 2024 and beyond, more of it, and you might be surprised to hear this, but I think we're going to see more people actually leaving the coaching industry or quitting their coaching businesses. And I know you might be shocked to hear me say that, especially because I'm all in on coaching, right? I am 10 toes down. I have my coaching certification. I am now certifying aspiring coaches. So why on earth would I say more coaches are quitting? In fact, I'm going to talk more about this as I get into the podcast because a lot of these trends that I see really correlate together. But I thought about this in particular based on a conversation that I had with a friend of mine who's also in the coaching industry. And we've been noticing this, right? Maybe you've seen some of your favorite online, business influencers or coaching influencers hang up their hat and say, you know what, this is like my last post. I'm not doing this anymore. I know I've been doing this for a few years. Some of you might be shocked. You might be surprised because I, seem to be doing well, but I just can't take it anymore. I'm quitting, right? And if they're quitting at the top of their game, how many more, smaller upstarts who maybe you don't know their names, they don't have big social media followings, but they're just like, you know what, I'm quitting as well. So I think we're going to see kind of two swim lanes of people quitting. The first swim lane of people quitting are actually those who are quite successful, right? So people who have large audiences, who you're surprised to see that they are like, hanging their hat up. I think we're going to see more of this because what people don't realize, especially because this industry is so focused on money, right? And finances. And by the way, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I do think that when you are first starting your coaching business, you need to be ruthlessly focused on coming up with a program or a product that your audience really loves that you can sell over and over again, because that's going to generate the revenue, which then gives you the cash flow to build out the rest of your business. So don't hear me say like it's bad to focus on the money in your business. You shouldn't only focus on the money, right? You should be focused on client results and, helping your clients be successful, but you should be focused on coming up with a product that's going to help them do that. That's going to also generate the revenue that you need for your business to be successful. That said, I think we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs who have been focused on getting their revenue numbers up, and maybe they've successfully hit the multi 6-figure or even 7-figure level, and they're quitting because they're burning out. And they're burning out because no one talks about this in this industry. And I'm now realizing this. And this is why over this last year, I've been doing my CEO series on this podcast. So if you haven't checked that out, you can check out those episodes where I kind of peel back the curtain and show you what it really looks like, or kind of what's going on in my head as I transition from coach to CEO in my business. I find that a lot of online entrepreneurs are not making that transition, right? They're so focused on the revenue, or they've been so focused on the revenue up until this point. They've then built this behemoth of a business that's really a monster that, yes, it's generating, 7 figures or high 6 figures or whatever, but the systems and processes are not in place. And now everything is falling on them. Everything is depending on them. Let me say, now that I'm in it, I understand. I feel so fortunate and I feel so grateful, truly by God's grace, that I have been connected with amazing people who are on my team, who are supporting me, who are helping me build out those processes. But I say all the time, if I did not have the team that I have, I get why people quit. Like if I had to do all of this on my own, oh my goodness, it would just be too overwhelming. Because what people don't realize is in order to start to scale to that 7-figure level, you're really transitioning out of like solo entrepreneur land and really into like company corporation land. And it's this dichotomy because a lot of entrepreneurs quit their jobs because they're like, oh, I hate corporate America. And, I don't want to have anything to do with corporate America. And so they have this fantasy really that they're going to build this hugely successful, mega millions type business. And they're not going to have to endure any of the corporate processes that they have left behind. And so they almost kind of thumb their nose to it and exclusively make their business like anti-corporate. And that comes to kind of bite you in the when you get to that 7-figure level, because you really do need those systems and processes in place in order to not only keep the revenue coming in, but to keep your client results happening, to keep your customers satisfied, to keep your operations going. At this point, you're going to have payroll and taxes and finance, and there's all these different things. And so while we think that corporate processes are boring, now, you can make them kind of fancy in your own way. I think in my company, we do a good job of CLSing a lot of these processes and making them a little bit more fancier than maybe what you might experience in your traditional corporate job. But understand that those processes do need to be put in place. And so I think a lot of entrepreneurs hit this impasse where they're making all of this money, but they're really unhappy because they don't have these systems, they don't have these people, they don't have these processes in place. All of this is falling on their shoulders. They're making all this money, but they're like, oh my goodness, is it even worth it? Because I'm working around the clock because everything falls on me, because they built this kind of laptop lifestyle business. But that laptop lifestyle gets really stressful when you're the only person on the laptop, right? Manning the business. So I think we are going to see more people step away who, send them this podcast, right? They should listen to this episode so that they don't step away and so that they understand what it is that they need to do. But I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs who don't know that this is the issue, and they falsely attribute their current situation to this is the way it's always going to be. And granted, this is the way it is always going to be unless you put these systems and these processes in place. And another thing is, even when you put the systems and processes in place, it might be a good 6 months to a year till everything is smoothed out and everything is operating as it should. And so if you don't know that and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, you're more likely to want to just throw your hands up and say, forget this thing. But for me, I'm locked in, I'm in here, right? There have been some rough times, some bumpy turbulence, but I know I'm getting to my destination, and I'm confident about that because I understand what it takes to kind of get through a season of like, oh my goodness, hiring all these people. Like, that's stressful, hiring a lot of people, having turnover, right? I will raise my hand. This year I made a few hires that weren't that great. So I was really excited and like, oh, this person's going to be amazing. And they ended up flaming out and we had to let them go. Having payroll on your books, consistently being able to manage cash flow when your employees are like, hey, but I want to be paid, the 1st and the 15th, or I want to be paid every 2 weeks. They don't care that your launch doesn't happen for another 4 weeks. They're like, they want their money today, right? So dealing with all of this can be very, very stressful. But again, if you keep your eye on the prize and you understand that these are really just the growing pains, then it makes it that much easier really to transition from coach to CEO. But again, I find that a lot of successful online entrepreneurs don't realize that that is a transition that they need to make. And so they're quitting. And so unfortunately, there's a lot of people who don't know this information, who I do believe, my prediction is that they are going to be quitting going forward. Now, a lot of people who are quitting have not hit the pinnacle, right? Have not hit their, multi 6 figures or 7 figures. And I think a lot of them are going to be quitting because they don't understand what it really takes to stand out in this industry and to be successful. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. That's another point that I will cover in more detail. But I think a lot of aspiring online coaches falsely assume that all they need is like, a pretty website, and, they just need to learn how to coach, and they just need to set up their funnels or get their calendar set up or whatever. And then they just like put it out there, right? I build it, they will come. They have this kind of mentality. And the good thing about the coaching industry is that the coaching industry is starting to mature, right? I'd say maybe in like 2009, 2010, when I was first getting on the scene, I wasn't quite a coach yet, but I was, getting online and blogging and kind of getting in this online marketing space. It was really in its infancy, right? The coaching industry was in its infancy. It's starting to get up there, right? More people are starting to understand what a coach is. Before it was like, are you an athletic coach? You coach football? Now people are starting to understand what coaching is. Corporations are now starting to seek coaches for their leadership. So coaching is becoming more mainstream. And with that mainstreaming, which is a great thing, and this maturity, for the people who are interested in coaching, there's less of this like, oh, just because you say you're a coach or you're branded as a coach, I'm automatically gonna, sign up for you. Now more is required, right? You need to do more in order to stand out. It's not just enough to be a coach and have a pretty website and assume that you're gonna have all the clients in the world. That's not the case. And so I perceive that as the industry starts to mature and more is gonna be required of coaches in order to stand out, there are people who are coming into the industry because they have this false fantasy, right? On both sides, it's kind of this fantasy land of like, oh, I should just be able to, put my website up there and get my coaching certification and become a coach and clients should just fall in my lap. And that ship has sailed. Like that was at the beginning, that was the infancy of the coaching industry. We're beyond that, right? We're starting to move, I would say, from adolescence to maybe young adulthood in the coaching industry. We're not quite a mature industry, but it certainly is maturing and more is going to be required. And again, people who don't know that, who go into this with the wrong expectations are going to be flaming out and they're going to quit. All right. So with that actually rolls into my second prediction, which is we're going to see a lot of consolidation in the coaching industry. So while people might be quitting, I think the smart ones who are like, you know what, this is more work than I anticipated, or there are specific skill sets that I'm realizing are going to be really necessary for me to stand out in this industry. And again, I'll talk more about what those are as we get into this podcast. The smart ones won't just throw in the towel completely. They will come alongside other coaches who are successfully navigating this. And so I think we're going to see some consolidation, almost like mergers and acquisitions, right? Not really, but a lot of coaches teaming up together to say, you know what, we can go further together than maybe I could go individually on my own. Or maybe I would do better less as the front of the business and as like, oh, I'm the main coach. And maybe I would do better coaching inside of your business. I will raise my hand. We're actually looking for those types of coaches as we grow our programs, as we build out our curriculum. I'm hiring coaches left and right to help facilitate and coach inside of my certification programs and my marketing programs, et cetera. And I feel so fortunate that there are smart coaches who are like, you know what, I'm really great on the operations side, or I'm really great on, this kind of process, and it would be better served if I worked internally versus me having to worry about the marketing and the sales and all of that. I would rather come alongside in your business, still make a great income working for you and helping you grow this business. And I can just put my talents here and I don't have to worry about all the other things and be the face of the business, right? Not everybody has the skill set for that. Not everybody has the talent to do what it takes to really build a standout brand. And so if you understand that that's not your strong suit, that doesn't mean that, you're worthless as a coach or, you're never going to be successful. There are plenty of coaches, again, who are growing their businesses, like myself, coaches who are transitioning from coach to CEO, who need coaches to come alongside them, to come along internally and help support their clients. And really, it's a win-win all around. So I do foresee a lot of consolidation. I even foresee consolidation in the sense that a lot of coaches are not going to be coaching necessarily to the masses or have like a consumer-facing brand, but are going to be coaches directly to corporate America. And this is something that I've been working on and that we've been working on internally just with the interest that we have been getting. There are a lot of companies that are looking for coaches to help support them, whether it's coaching their own customers or coaching, their management team or coaching their leaders, et cetera. A lot of corporations are starting to spend money on coaches and on coaching. And so there's this kind of burgeoning section of the industry or of the market where maybe it's getting harder to stand out in the general like consumer facing market because there's more coaches coming up. But again, I think that will level off because in 2024, we're going to see more coaches quit, more coaches consolidate. But I also see this expansion over here on the corporate side. And so if you do have those credentials, and that's why even for myself, I'm transitioning more to a focus on certification. I do have my coaching certification. I got my coaching certification this year. And then my company is accredited. So we provide an accredited life coaching certification to aspiring life coaches. So if you're interested in getting your coaching certification, you can do that with us in our CLS Coaching Certification Program. And no, CLS doesn't just stand for my initials. It actually stands for Coach of Life Success, which is the designation that you will walk away with. And again, we are accredited by a reputable third-party coaching certification company. So once you get your coaching certification, you would be more eligible to do coaching in the corporate context if that's something that you wanted to do, because you have an internationally recognized coaching credential to your name. So that's a shameless plug for my coaching certification. But I say that because I myself believe in these predictions so strongly that this is why I've even been pivoting this way. And I say this as someone who got into the coaching industry without a certification and preached for a long time that you don't need a certification. And technically you don't, right? You can be a coach without a certification. Again, I grew my company to $1 million without a certification, but I would be dishonest if I didn't say that the way the industry is shifting, I do think that it is going to be more advantageous for you to have it, because I think the growth that we're going to see in the coaching industry is going to come from the corporate market. And again, corporations starting to look for coaches that will come in and coach to their stakeholders or whoever internally. And I know that corporate America especially is going to want to see a credential behind your name. So the second trend that I see is consolidation in this way, but I think that it's a really good thing. All right, the next trend that I see in the coaching industry, again, keeping all of these trends in mind. So we're going to see some falling away, right? Some people quitting, some people consolidating, which I think is really smart, which then leads to the third trend of people taking teams very, very seriously. Oh my goodness, I'm one of them. And I feel like you're starting to see this even for myself, looking at my peers and contemporaries. A lot of people are thanking their teams, are talking about how instrumental their teams are, because you do need teams in order to get to another level. And I'm not talking about Microsoft Teams, right? Even though, it's probably helpful. I personally like Slack and Zoom and all of that, but I'm not talking about any software. I'm talking about people, right? You need people on your side who are going to facilitate a lot of this for you, because again, it is very difficult to run a coaching business at a high level without people really supporting you. And so I think that there's this kind of gap or misnomer, because most people are just trying to get to their first 6 figures in the coaching industry, which I get. They're just like, man, if I could get my first 4-figure client, right? Somebody to pay me, $3,000 for a coaching program or something. If I could just make $10K a month, start making $120,000 a year, that would be enough to quit my corporate job. A lot of people who are working in corporate America, do have well-paid positions and they are making 6 figures. And they're like, man, in order for me to successfully quit my job and replace my income, I need to be making that in my coaching business. And so that becomes exclusively the focus, right? I want to make 10 to 20K a month in order to replace the income that I'm getting at my corporate salary. That's great. And that is something that you can do for the most part solo. I did that by myself. Plus I think I had 1 or 2 like virtual assistants. So you can hit about $100,000, maybe $200,000 kind of on your own with maybe like 1 or 2 assistants to support you. But if you desire to scale beyond that, and most coaches do, especially when we talk about, global economics and geopolitics and the way things are shifting, inflation, et cetera, $100,000 ain't what it used to be, right? 200,000, heck, $1 million isn't what it used to be. And so for me personally, I'm recommending, at least for the coaches that work with me who come into my programs, we're helping them build businesses that are focused on that like high multiple 6 or even 7-figure level. And I know for a lot of people, they're like, but I don't need all of that, right? Like, I don't care. I don't need fancy cars. I don't need to make $1 million. Understand that I'm not saying this just for you. Like, oh, I want you to go home with $1 million. Even if that's not something that you necessarily aspire to. If you want a sustainable business that has longevity, you're still going to want to shoot for the higher amounts, because it's going to become increasingly difficult, again, to compete simply on a low 6-figure level, because you're going to have a lot of people, competing at that. And so in order for you to really stand out from the crowd, there is a bit of, again, there's more branding, more systems, like there's more that you're going to have to do. And that more is going to be very difficult if practically you're the only person in the business. Because think about it, you're doing the coaching, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the customer service, you're doing the operations. Yeah, you might have an assistant here or there. If you're pretty much the only person in your business, by definition, you're really only going to be able to hit like low 6 figures. But you're not going to have the bandwidth and capacity to be able to compete at a higher level, because again, the industry is growing. More people are coming in. More people are going to be competing at that low 6-figure level. So I'm saying, like, for your own benefit, if you want this to be a long-term business that you do, not just for a few years, but really for decades, it's better that you shoot for the 7 figures, because then you will have the resources necessary to stand out from the crowd, because you are going to need a team, and you can't afford to pay a team if you're only making 6 figures in your business, right? Again, most people shoot for that because they're like, that's what I need in order to transition from my corporate job. Right. But what are the people who are supporting you? What do they need, right? They're going to want a salary too. And so if you're shooting for 7 figures, that gives you enough revenue to be able to not only pay yourself, but to pay a team, so so that you can be sustainable long-term. Again, you can compete at a high level. You can be visible in this industry. People will know you for years to come. That doesn't happen if you're only focused on building a six-figure business. You really need a team in order to do that, and you can't afford to pay a team if you're only shooting for the low six figures. So I think you're going to start hearing more content come out around the importance of team. I know for me, like I even listen to entrepreneurial interviews differently. Like even people who have built like billion-dollar businesses and they interview them, right? It seems like the advice that they're giving is so simple, right? You ever watch those interviews and it's like, oh, billion-dollar founder, like, how did you do this? And they always say some kind of generic, like, well, I wouldn't have been able to do this, on my own. I have a really great team supporting me, et cetera, et cetera. And then they kind of like move on to the next thing. I used to just blow that off as like, oh, they're just being modest. No, listen to these people. When they're saying that they couldn't do it without a team, they're telling you the truth. They could not do it without a team. You're not going to be able to do it without a team. So make sure that when you think about your coaching business, that you're building the expectation that you're going to need a team in mind with your goals, and that you're really, really shooting higher than even what you think you personally need, because that's going to be required in order to pay your team. All right, the next trend that I see, and also talking about what's going to be required to pay your team, the next trend that I see is going to be a focus on premium programs. This is so important. So yes, you need to shoot for 7 figures so that you can pay a team, but what exactly are you going to be selling in order to generate those 7 figures? Again, more coaches need to shift to premium programs. And I really see this as a continuation from a trend that we've already seen. I know there's a lot of talk about, high ticket coaching, but for me, I use the word premium programs or like high value programs, because I think unfortunately the focus has been on high ticket, meaning the price that you sell it for, but not the value. High value in terms of what you are offering, right? And this is so important. Again, I'm even making a lot of new hires. There's a lot of different things that I'm doing internally within my own business and within my own programs to make sure that it's the highest quality that it can be, and that really we're providing at a level that really stands out from the crowd and what others are doing in this industry, so that we can maintain premium pricing, because it's so important, again, to be able to pay that team and in order to be sustainable long term. And so I find that a lot of people aren't focusing on that. They're, again, focusing on like, what's the lowest ticket offer they can come up with, because they have this fantasy, again, lots of fantasies going on, this false belief that like, oh man, if this is cheap, right? If I can just charge a few $100s for a course or something like that, I can sell, thousands of them and I can hit this revenue goal. Most people don't realize how expensive it is to be able to sell even one product, right? So you're like, oh yeah, I want to have a $300 course and I'm going to sell like, 1,000 of them so I can make $300,000 in my business. They don't understand what goes into selling 1,000, right? What goes into that volume in terms of whether it's organic, how often you have to show up, how much content you have to produce. The content is not free, right? These YouTube videos and these podcasts are free, but it's not free for me to produce them, right? My video editor, I have to pay him in order to edit this. I have a team that, puts all this out for me. So even the free content that I'm doing is not free. And again, when you get it to a high level and you're doing it really consistently, it's not going to be free for you either. So keep that in mind and think about, man, how can I really support this? Additionally, you might need to run ads, right? Especially as the industry grows and it gets more popular and there's more people out here putting out content. These social media platforms are not playing. They're like, pay up, Engagement is going down. They're starting to restrict reach. They're like, hey, if you want to reach the same people that you used to reach before organically, you're going to need to pay up by boosting posts or whatever. And so again, you want to have revenue for all of this. And, a lot of people think that this stuff is like bad or like, oh, it's not fair. Why is Facebook doing this? Why is Instagram doing this? Welcome to Business 101. Like, you are in business, you're running a business. You need cash flow, you need revenue in order to pay for all the things necessary in order to get your business out there. And so it costs you just as much to sell a $300, course as it does for you to sell a $3,000 program, right? So we want to make sure that we are focusing on premium programs. I also feel like this is going to be a major trend for 2024 because, again, more high-level people in corporate America are saying, you know what? I used to think that I had to be in this position in order to make this kind of income, but I'm seeing that there are people who are helping people. They're having a huge impact. They're having fun with these coaching businesses. I can transition out of my high-paying corporate career and go into a coaching business, right? I had a doctor who did this, a pediatrician who was making a ton of money, but was scared to go into coaching because she didn't know that she was going to be able to replace her income. And she found that she made more in coaching than she did even as a doctor. And so there's a lot of high paid professionals, right? Engineers and people at the director level, et cetera, who are looking to transition into coaching. The number one thing I tell them is that when you're coming up with your coaching programs and your coaching packages, you need to focus on a premium offer, right? Because you, of all people, need to be able to replace your income. And it's very difficult to do that with high volume, right? Oh, I'm going to create a $300 course and sell it at high volume. No, you need to come up with a high value course. That way you can sell less of them, but you're able to hit the revenue that you need in order to get yourself out of your job, but then do the other things that we talked about, such as hiring a team and staying competitive in the industry. All right, and my last prediction, and this kind of sums up everything that we talked about and what is so important. My last prediction that we will see more of is the coaching businesses that really stand out and are successful in 2024 and beyond are the coaching businesses who have really mastered the art of brand, right? And notice I said the art, not necessarily the science. In fact, I think that's been part of the issue. There's been a lot of focus in coaching on, formulas and blueprints and, connect the dots and just do this and it's super easy. And, quite frankly, AI, like some of this AI is getting really, really good. So I think if your coaching business is built or predicated on some like magical system or formula or something that you're walking people through, but there's nothing unique about it, there's nothing proprietary about it, and you don't have a brand, right? You just, hey, I got this like paint by numbers formula to build a funnel or whatever that's really going to help you be successful. I think AI is going to eat your lunch. I'm sorry. I'm just saying that, right? I think business coaches in particular are going to have a hard time because a lot of business coaches have, kind of risen up again by not having a brand, not having anything really unique about them. They've just kind of figured out a funnel that works. They're blowing a lot of ads to it, like blowing a lot of money, running ads to it, getting people into a particular funnel and selling some like trick or tactic. And people are going to go to AI, right? To try to figure out how to do the same things, right? You can go to like ChatGPT and ask it, what's the best funnel for you to build? So I think if your coaching is really built on these kind of like vanilla, nothing special, me too type formulas, and you yourself don't have a brand, you're going to have difficulty being successful in 2024 and beyond. I think the coaches that will continue to see success are the ones that took building their brand seriously. And by brand, I'm not just talking about, pretty photos or logos, et cetera. In fact, in my program, we talk in depth about like your core personality. What does it mean to pull your essence out and extrapolate it on these social media platforms and on your brand so that people are really connecting with you. I think we see this whether it's musical artists, right? Certain artists have stood the test of time because they really put their essence and soul into the music, and the people who connect with them at a personal level are rocking with them regardless of what other artists that they listen to. I think, the coaching business is really going to be the same way. But again, we talk about AI. If you have nothing unique, if you have nothing proprietary, if you have no secret sauce within your brand, I do think AI is going to eat your lunch. And so I believe in this so strongly. That's why we have included this in my, again, CLS coaching certification. In addition to teaching you how to coach and getting you a coaching certification, we show you how to come up with your own coaching methodology precisely for this, so that you can stand out from the crowd and there's no AI software that can take what you have because it's unique to you and it's your proprietary process. And so people only can get this when they come to you. So I think the coaching businesses that really focus on this and take this seriously are the ones that are going to be super successful in 2024 and beyond. All right, thanks so much for listening to this podcast or watching it if you are here on YouTube. I would love to hear from you and to hear what your predictions are for the coaching industry in 2024. If you are listening to this, you can leave a comment on my latest Instagram post. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and drop a comment below. But if you want to learn more about my coaching certification program, you can click the link in the description box to apply. And if accepted, you'll be invited to a call with one of my enrollment coordinators who will walk you through the entire process. But with that, thanks so much for watching/listening to this podcast. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.